you see we're going to be able to have a lot more people there. And we invite all of you to come over. We've got an open house at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, yes, sir.
Okay, so you can look through the building and talk with everybody and see what we need to do, which I really thoroughly enjoy, and I appreciate all that everybody has done to get us there. So at the first here, I'd like to ask, let's see, what are we invitation? Yeah, Buddy Fowler, if he would lead us in our word of invitation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's bow our heads. Father, we're truly thankful for the wonderful day we have here today in Surf City. We thank you for all the blessings you bring into each of our lives. Father, we ask that you give us the wisdom to see them as blessings and take them as such. Father, we ask you to be with all those that are sick in our community and be with their families, lift them up and heal them. Father, be with our soldiers that are overseas. Bring them home safely. Father, we ask you to be with all those here present today. Be with this council as we render our decisions today and look at our workshop and get to move forward. We ask all these things in your most precious name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I ask Councilman Don Helms if he'll lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Now, what we have today, you'll be able to see why we are such a wonderful community. We have a lot of people that really have given a lot to Surf City and to the residents of Surf City and to other people all around Surf City. A lot of people here have dedicated much of their lives doing things for other people. And so first I would like to have Miss Jean Beasley, if she would come forward. Let's get over here. This is a wonderful woman right here. I don't think she needs any introduction. I don't know anybody that doesn't know her. I don't know, there may be some people in foreign countries somewhere that don't know her. But I don't think there's anybody in this country or anywhere around here that doesn't know her. But Miss Jean Beasley has been a blessing to our community. And today we're going to be talking about sea turtles. That's not the only thing that she just has helped people all along the way. She's been a blessing to many, many people. So today we're going to present her with this proclamation. And it says, whereas Jean is an international, national, and local leader in the field of endangered, sick, and injured sea turtles. And whereas Jean envisioned, built, and implemented one of the first non-profit sea turtle rehabilitation centers for sick and injured endangered sea turtles on the East Coast in 1997. You had a little while on this,
yes, 2 years.
Whereas Ms. Jean advocates for environmental issues related to ocean conservation efforts on behalf of endangered sea turtles and other ocean creatures. Whereas Jean provides a caring rehabilitation environment for rescued, sick, and injured endangered sea turtles. And whereas Jean provides educational opportunities for the community, schools, universities, and Topsail Island visitors. And whereas Jean provides mentoring, education experiences related to sea turtle rehabilitation for hospital volunteers, veterinary students, university biology students, and students serving as interns. And whereas Jean was awarded in 2007 Animal Planet Hero of the Year Award. And whereas with love and support of her family and friends, Jean resolved, with best wishes on her retirement, I, Douglas C. Medlin, Mayor of the town of Surf City, do hereby proclaim Friday, May the 21st, in the town of Surf City as Jean Beasley Day. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and affix the seal of the town of Surf City this 21st day of May in the year of our Lord, 2021. But it's been signed by our town clerk, Ms. Stephanie Hobbs, one of our council.
Thank you so
And I
much, Mr.
appreciate
Mayor.
it.
Thank you so much. I am never without a few words. First of all, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Are you sure that was all me? But what I want to say is that I crossed the bridge, the old bridge, to this island in 1958. It was a fairly new bridge then, and I knew I was coming home when I crossed the bridge. And this will always be my home. So although I am going to flee when the hurricanes come, I will be back as long as my health allows. So you'll see me around the island. I just can't chase turtles anymore. So I'm going to go over there to see him. In fact, I told Terry Meyer that if she changes my door code, I'm going to be there with an axe. I will be coming and going, that's for sure. I certainly appreciate this. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and all of the council. Thank you.
Council, really, like I say, we really appreciate what you have done for our community, and all the people in this community really appreciate you.
We all work together.
We all work together, that's right.
Take care. Thank you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, another lady that has meant a lot to us and has meant a lot to me. When I first went to Faith Harbor Church, we had what they called a food pantry. And so they had set up a little box outside, and Dawn and the rest of them would fill it up, and then people would come by and get what food they needed. It was like I say, now this box was, I don't know what, 3 or 4 times as big as the podium up there, something like that. Not great big, but they kept it filled. And then Dawn decided to take on the big challenge. But by doing that, she could see how many people there was in this area that needed food. So under the wings of Faith Harbor, she started Share the Table. And from that it's grown. And she's got most of the churches around here are involved with it. And now they've moved out to the corner of Shepherd Road. And they're in the process of building a new place out off of Highway 17. How many people are you feeding a week now?
A week we are feeding around 1,200 to 1,400 a week.
That's a lot of people. And a lot of people that would be hungry. Huh? Yeah, I'm
Come
gonna
up
get her
there.
here.
Come up there.
Come on up.
The lady that's with you, go with her.
And I reckon you need to speak into this too.
Okay.
Okay, how many people again?
1,200 to 1,400 a week.
1,200 to 1,400 a week. That'd be a lot of young'uns in the house, wouldn't it? Anyway, like I say, she's been around. When did you start it?
2010.
2010. So
It was 10 years in October.
10 years in October. So last October.
Last October. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So almost 11 years
Well,
now
it'll be
we're
11
working on
years.
it. Right? But anyway, Dawn Ellis shared a table. The Governor's Medallion Award for Volunteer Service was implemented in 2006 to recognize the top 20 to 25 volunteers in the state. The medallion recipients are nominated at the county level by county area coordinators. Only one medallion nomination is permitted per county. A statewide panel reviews and evaluates all these nominations to determine an award recipient. The medal award recipients are honored in an annual recognition ceremony. The medallion is placed around the neck to signify the volunteer's special great service in the community. This year, the award ceremony will be a virtual event.
It was.
They're going to have, did they have real long arms or something? I don't know how they got that thing hung around your necks.
They mailed it, FedEx.
But anyway, Share the Table features more than 190 volunteers led by Director Dawn Ellis. On a daily basis, approximately 85 volunteers can be found gathering donations, preparing food boxes, operating the soup kitchen, and Share the Table will receive a medallion award for their dedicated service. The Governor's Volunteer Service Award honors people who have shown concern, compassion for their neighbors by making a significant contribution to their community through volunteer service. The award was created in the office of the Governor in 1979. So, Dawn, I will present this to you. Of course, you already have the award.
Thank you.
But it is
Thank you.
the award of Certificate of Appreciation from the town of Surf City. And we just love you and love all the people that work with you. You've got some fantastic people that work with you, I know. Thank you. And it takes a lot of work.
Yes, our volunteers are amazing, and they're the heart and soul of what we do and how we do it. So
Right.
we love them. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Wait a minute, you got a special presentation?
Oh, that's right. We're still going on.
Yeah.
That's right. And I'm gonna turn that one over to you, right? I haven't got anything up
Sure,
here.
I'll be happy to introduce
You got it sitting on your corner over there anyway.
our first presentation from Mia Bella Weary. Mia Bella reached out, actually her mom reached out initially, Tammy, to me to seek potential opportunity for Mia Bella to get some experience working with the town. So really for her entire, pretty close senior year in high school, she has faithfully dedicated her time on Wednesdays to come in, shadow me, council members who she's been a part of meetings, department heads and staff, and has really seen that interaction. Her youthfulness in the organization, I think, has been a positive note for everybody. She's very intuitive. She will ask the questions, and really has been a sincere joy for us to be able to work with. And it's my hope that she has got something out of this. And certainly as a professional, I think it's extremely important to share any kind of knowledge or wisdom that you can for our future leaders. So we hope Mia Bella will take this experience in her future endeavors with her and do positive things for her community in the future, whether that be Surf City or anywhere in this country. So I will turn it over to Mia Bella, and I hope you can let council know what you've been up to.
Hi, my name is Nelva, like you just said. I've been interning under him for the last year, my senior year. I'm a senior at Topsail High School, and next year I plan on attending the Honors College at Virginia Tech to major in public policy. I'm a varsity cheerleader at the high school, and I'm also a member of the Topsail Student Council, and then I also coach a pop runner cheerleading team during the winter as well. So why am I here? This is me, right? The building for the old town, well, the new town hall being built, but I'm here to tell you guys everything that I've learned, because I really have gained a lot through this experience, and we thought it would be like a great idea to tell all of you, because you guys have spent a lot of time with me this year, and I thought it would be like a wonderful idea to tell you guys how thankful I am and everything that I've learned throughout this experience. So before this, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Growing up, I thought, well, maybe I want to be a fashion designer, maybe I want to work in the medical field, because I always wanted to help people. But I found that I enjoyed like my history classes and my government classes a lot more than I was enjoying my biology and medical classes. So along with taking AP government and politics this year, I was like, I talked to my parents and we thought it would be a great idea to get some hands-on experience and see if this is something that I really wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so through this internship this year, I made it final that yes, becoming like a town planner would be, or a town manager would be something I would love to do, especially if it was in a small town like this, where I could see actual change happening every day with stuff that you are projects that you're working on. So here's some specifics that I learned. Everything that I learned, I could not put in this presentation, because there's been so much just application of class concepts that I've learned that like I can read it in a textbook, but actually seeing it happen every single day is a totally different experience. But like some of the main things, I learned how the local government plans and implements a balanced budget. This year I've been lucky enough to be here when they were planning the 2021 budget plans, and then I learned how a town, like how different departments have to put together their budgets, and then just for us to go through, we have to go through every single one and then plan multiple years ahead. Like if the fire department wants a new truck or something, like those are really expensive, so it takes years to plan and those into the budgets, because having a balanced budget is really important, especially in small towns. I also learned how the local, state, and federal government interacts with each other, especially when it comes to long-term, really expensive projects. For example, the beach nourishment project. One of the first meetings I actually did was sit in on was with the Army Corps of Engineers, talking about budgeting and how the towns are going to raise the money to cover their portion of the cost. For us, it was paid parking. That's how we started doing it. And then also we put together a lot of like other funds, grants from other federal and state levels that are going to help us pay for it. I also learned how a town can implement small-scale, short-term projects like new sidewalks, and then also long-scale, long-term projects like our utilities. Like how are we going to deal with those in the next few years as our town grows? Also, how the different departments work as a collective team while also staying within their departments. So before we moved to the new town hall, the new building, we were in the Parks and Rec department, and then also the finance department was in there also. So whenever Wednesday when I would go in, I would stop by the different departments and I'd be like, hi, what are you guys working on today? And every day they would tell me different things that they were working on, and then I would go through and then I could see like they were working on taxes today, and the Parks and Rec was working on the summer camps today. And I thought it was amazing how each department could be so close together, working on such different things, but they all had to work together to actually get things, the ball rolling. And then the different programs your city has open to the residents, like the summer camps, the free parking passes. Those are things that most towns do not offer to their residents, but Surf City has the pleasure of offering to its residents. And then the history of the town of Surf City and its citizens. I am not a homegrown Surf City place. I'm an Army brat, so we moved around a lot. For the last 6 years, we've had the pleasure of living in Hampstead, and I've worked and I come to Surf City every week. And so it's been really interesting during this internship to meet people who are actually homegrown Surf City residents. Like their families have been here, like they've been involved in the community for like the last 50 years, or longer than that, like hundreds of years, like last 100 years. And I love
Who are you
seeing.
talking about? Talking about free.
You're old.
Very much so.
Generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the specific meetings of the town council, the mayor's office, and the town staff. Coming to large meetings like this, I get to see how town meetings in the local government are run. I got to see what the mayor's office does, what the town council does, what Mr. Brewer and all the different departments do. And I found that really, really interesting to see the separation between all the different parts of the local government, because I always thought the local government wasn't I know it's a lot larger than I actually thought it was. And so I think that is amazing how many people there are in our town actually making it go round. Some of the special projects that I have, I'm just going to reiterate, the beach nursery project. I want to budget for the project and information of the project. This project I know has been going on for a very long time. And so I am so blessed to be able to see it actually start coming to light during my time here. Paid parking, I was there when the very first sign was put into the ground. I was there when they were planning to find the right company to use. I watched how they allocated resident parking passes in a fair manner, and how they found the maximum number of parking spots while making information easy and accessible to the public. Every week, Mr. Brewer sends me a link to a webpage that he puts out every week. He sends to the Surf City residents, and I love reading those because I like to see what's going on every week. I like to see the projects and how they're moving along. And so making information easy to the public is something that Surf City does a really great job on. And then the demolition of Old Town Hall. I learned the steps a town has to go through to make sure public buildings and safety be demolished while learning about the public bidding process. I just thought they just hired someone to get a hammer and break down the buildings. I didn't think that there was going to be 100 inspections that went along with it, and that they had to open the public bidding process so that companies from all over can place bids, and then they have to individually look at their packets and see what's the most cost-effective one and the most responsible one. And then the building at the Surf City Municipal Complex, every single week on Wednesdays we would go in, we would see the changes in the building and how it grew, like it was built up so quickly. And we saw I watched the decisions we made on like small issues and large issues, like what paint are they going to use in the bathroom, or what siding are they going to use, or okay, this telephone pole can be 60 feet, should it go in the center or should it be moved to the back, or how are they going to pay for the extra wires that takes? So I thought that was really cool to see the scale of the different, like, it's like really small issues and then really huge issues that are going to be in effect for years after we leave. Here are some pictures that I took. There's me taking a selfie. It's going to be, we're going to, like, right here is when we're all here going to sit. This is the meeting hall, the chamber, and then here's some pictures, and then I got some more pictures. This is the demolition of Old Town Hall. I was able to take it down. I was actually able to go to Old Town records before they were digitized and moved, so that's when they were in the Connex box. And I really enjoy looking through those records because I was able to see like town hall meeting records from like 1985, and one of them was like, Township City has 535 residents at the moment, and then right now we have like over 3,500 residents, and so I saw like the issues that they were talking about, and like there was a meeting from like 30 years ago when they were talking about the beach nourishment project, and so I was like, hey, that's what they're talking about now. So I really like going through those. And then the great window, that's the side of the beach nourishment project where all of the salmon can go. So with a personal gain, I gained direction. Now I know what I want to do. I know I want to be part of civil service, and I know that helping people in this area is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I've gained experience. Not a lot of high school seniors have the chance to shadow the town manager and talk to all these amazing people every Wednesday, and going to college knowing with a solid base what they want to do. And then confidence that goes along with it. I never thought I would be able to talk to the mayor and have like a real conversation with him. I thought I would just like shake his hand and like be scared. But like now, like I can talk to town council, and I can talk to like the town clerk, and I can talk to the police chief, and like actually like have civil conversations with him. And so I'm really proud that my confidence has grown. And so thank you, all of you. I gained so much thankfulness for our local government and how much you guys actually do for our town. I always thought that maybe state and federal governments had maybe more of a consequence on us. Not true at all. The local government does so much for our daily lives that we don't even realize that I always tell my friends, you have to pay attention to what's happening locally because that's what's actually going to affect you. Like the state and federal, they're going to affect you, but like you're going to walk outside and see local policies being implemented immediately. You're going to walk on the new sidewalks that they just put down, or drive on the new road that they just put down, or go to the new beach that they've been working on. And so I want to thank you all for everything that you do. Thank you. Do they have any questions?
I just want to say,
Where am I going? Virginia Tech.
Good.
I just want to say, you are one of the most well-spoken young individuals I've ever listened to.
Yes.
I mean, kudos to you. Congratulations.
I think we have seen her do a lot of growing up in a short time. You know, she was like a girl coming in, and now she's like a lady leaving.
Yeah.
And, so, you're young and growing up, Mama.
Yeah. I'm the mom.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Good luck in college.
And just on behalf of the town, we just wanted to give this to Mia Bella and wish you much success. And I think you're coming back next week, but it really has been a pleasure. So we do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you got anything else before we go to?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I'll second it.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve it.
I second that.
All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carried. Okay. As you know, we went into a state of emergency back in May 22nd of 2020. And I'm glad to announce that May the 14th, we rescinded that proclamation. So we are no longer in a state of emergency. And also, along with rescinding the state of emergency, we had put in a mask requirement. And we had put in a mask requirement on, and during that time also. So that was rescinded with the state of emergency. And so there is no state of emergency, there is no mask requirement as far as the town is concerned. Now, the state still has mask requirements on certain things. I think they have them on schools and other organizations. Is that not right?
Yeah, childcare, some healthcare settings, and
yeah.
public transportation.
So, I mean, we don't control those, but the state does. So those are still in state, but we don't require them anymore. But any business that wants to can still require a mask being worn, and you have to abide by the business's request if you go in. So just wanted to put that in so that everybody knows what's going on. All right, Beach Nourish Committee.
I'll take this one, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
So we had talked about the Beach Nourishment Committee. It's its place within the town now that we are moving forward the Federal Nourishment Project. The Beach Nourishment Committee has been here since 1999. I consulted with Mr. Ward on future direction of this committee as directed by council. And what we did was we talked about some of the changes that are occurring and what the primary focus or objective could be with that committee. And we both agreed that the committee can still move forward, as there's still going to be a lot of things that need to happen. He also emphasized the need to start educating a new generation of folks that can volunteer for this committee so that they can be brought up to speed and be assets to the town like the current committee has been for so many years. So there was a couple of things in here that I had noted that the town may want to consider. One is renaming the committee. This would sort of look at not just beach nourishment, but overall coastal resiliency within the town. So we can come up with a name that would further affect that sort of focus on the committee. We would also look to affirm the appointment, so reach out to the existing committee members, make sure that they have commitment and dedication to continue forward serving on this, and if not, we can go out and recruit and retain new volunteers to serve, as well as the makeup of the committee and setting regular meetings to develop the overall objective and the work plan for future execution of that project. So what I can do is, with council's consensus or blessing, start working on this, start communicating with the committee chair, Mr. Ward, convening a meeting, giving them updates and future direction. This is also very good timing with the resiliency project that we are working on with the state, with the overall Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Committee. And this committee has also served as a funnel or channel for the citizen volunteers that serve on that TISPC too. So we can also maintain that succession with TISPC from our local Surf City representation. So I wanted to let you know, give you an update as to what we were doing with beach nourishment. And again, if it's consensus of council, I will move forward with reconvening and discussing some of these changes that I feel that we can implement for the committee.
Is that okay with everybody?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a statement. I think what you said is correct in renaming, looking at resilience and all. Our Beach Nourishment Committee has played a crucial role. They have very historic knowledge of the town of Surf City, and working through when Ms. Batts came on to the council. Before that was Mr. Curry that was with the Beach Nourishment. But they went down there to Washington, D.C. They've done a lot lobbying to try to get our Corps of Engineers project. They're very crucial to the town and its beach nourishment project. They're crucial to the town in general. So I think moving forward and keeping Mr. Ward and Ms. Batts and sitting down and forming that committee is something we need. And I think you're right. We need to bring some young blood in so they can get the historical perspective before some of the history's lost.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's something the town will certainly benefit from moving forward, and I would like to see it happen.
Okay, very good. Well, once I get that first committee meeting established, I'll let council know just sort of incremental achievements that we can get done, hopefully pretty soon, because some of these projects are going to be moving fairly quick. I'd like to get them up to speed with them because I don't think that they've been formally introduced to like the stormwater project we're working with WK Dixon and the North Carolina Resiliency Grant that we were awarded to work with Topsail Beach and North Topsail Beach. So we'll get cooking on that.
Okay. And you're right. There's a lot of knowledge on that board.
Yes. We need to take advantage of it and keep it going.
Yeah. So they have.
Every time I meet with Mr. Ward, I always like, tell me something else, because he's just, and I write it down when he talks, because him and Hiram both just have a tremendous amount of knowledge of the beach project, and just keeping that going is going to be very important to us.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I realize we skipped right over UNC Chapel Hill, who has been patiently waiting.
I was wondering if you were going to present or when you were going to present.
I am sorry. I skipped right ahead. So,
well, they just enjoyed watching us fumble around.
I think so.
Thanks so much.
It was a pleasure meeting y'all.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Congratulations.
Thank you, folks, for coming.
Nice to meet you. So you had Jess Wilkinson, who has been the staff liaison with the UNC Chapel Hill Keenan Institute and North Carolina Connect, or NC Connect. She unfortunately was not able to join us. She had another obligation already scheduled. So Austin Amendolia, who is on the screen here on your left, and I have not had the pleasure of meeting, and I can't read the name over there, so please excuse me for not being able to adequately introduce you. But what they've been working on over the last couple of months has been economic resilience project for the town. And what we started off looking at was through the initial CARES funding and through EDA, was seeking a grant so that the town could start looking at expanding our economy beyond the traditional travel and tourism based economical sectors that we see. By no means, as a result of this study, say that we should abandon that. We should absolutely support that economy. It is a major driver in what Surf City does and what the island does. But what are some other opportunities that we could look at? What are we missing within town? And what are some emerging topics that we might want to be able to put our finger on? And ultimately, we can use this study, which is still in draft form, as a tool to further develop long-range policies, as those are directly tied to our comprehensive plan for the town. So, Austin, I will turn it over to you, and hopefully technology works this morning. And that's my introduction, Mr. Mayor.
Awesome. Now I'd like to turn it over to Nicole to briefly introduce NC Grove.
Thanks so much, Austin. Good morning, all elected officials and citizens of Surf City. I'm Nicole Outlaw, Program Manager with the NC Grove Smarter team. I'm a colleague of Jess Wilkinson. Work closely together. And she asked us to step in today. So I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what we do, and then I'll turn it over to Austin. NC Grove Smarter is an initiative based at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill that helps create 200+ jobs across the Carolinas every year. Our mission is to help businesses create good jobs and to help communities create sustainable and equitable opportunities for their people. We work with on-the-ground companies and communities that face high unemployment, poverty, and other forms of economic distress. Our core staff is based across North and South Carolina, and we manage a portfolio of about 60 projects per year. 2/3 of those are business owners, and a third of those are with community leaders such as yourself. We help businesses grow and hire more people by redesigning manufacturing processes, identifying markets, building inventory systems, analyzing financials, and other direct technical assistance. We help communities to increase opportunity by planning business incubators, researching affordable housing development, creating economic development strategies, and other applied research. We also employ 50 graduate students each year from more than 10 universities and partner with hundreds of local organizations. This spring, your town worked closely with Austin Amendolia. Austin has just completed his Master of City and Regional Planning degree at UNC. Congratulations to him, where he focused on issues of equitable economic development, specifically interested in issues of wealth and income inequality. At this time, I will turn it over to you, Austin.
Thanks, Nicole. And like Nicole mentioned, I kind of led the research on this project. And I'm just going to jump right in to the presentation I have for y'all today. So as Kyle mentioned, the purpose of this project was looking at economic resilience and diversification because Surf City relies heavily on tourism and has a strong tourism sector, but that also can lead Surf City vulnerable to extreme weather events and economic shocks. And so we want to find some ways to make the local economy overall more healthy. The research methods we used is we conducted a shift share analysis, we conducted stakeholder interviews, asset mapping, and did some case study research. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then we produced a detailed report with recommendations. You have received a draft of that. And after this presentation, I'll go in and take any feedback and make a final version. Nothing substantive should really change. There will probably be like some tweaking of grammar and whatnot, but the report you have is pretty close to the version you will receive after this. So first, I want to just quickly breeze over some key economic indicators. Y'all probably know most of this already, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But Surf City has experienced a significant population growth, especially compared to Pender County in North Carolina. They've had a faster growth rate over the past decade than the county. Surf City is also becoming more racially and ethnically diverse over time, which is a trend we see throughout the country. When we look at employment trends, we see that for Pender County, so employment data is typically only available on a county level. It's hard to get it on a town level. But since 2000, we can see employment in Pender County has pretty much gone up, which can largely be attributed to population growth. And of course, we see a sharp decline right when the COVID-19 pandemic happened. And then when we look at the employment sectors, we see some of the top industries in Pender County. One thing I just want to point out is food services and drinking places is way up there, and that makes sense because of the strong tourism sector in the area. And we look at house values. Overall, Surf City has higher house values compared to nearby municipalities. So just have a couple of ways of showing that here. When we look at internet access, we can see internet access at the Topsail Township level, which is obviously a little bit more than Surf City. But essentially, internet access in the area seems to be better than in Pender County in North Carolina. However, it's worth noting that people with a high school education or lower tend to have less access to internet. And so that's something that kind of comes up in the report as well. So looking briefly at the research methods. So the shift share analysis, this was kind of the bulk analysis that we did. And what this analysis does is it will assess industry level growth patterns. So it can tell you how the manufacturing industry is performing in a region. And it does this by comparing employment growth in a smaller region to a larger region that it's a part of. So for our case, we studied how the industries in Pender County are experiencing growth compared to those same industries in the state of North Carolina. And what this allows us to do is identify what industries to target for future growth, because you can see which industries are doing better in Pender County than in the state of North Carolina, or vice versa. And so one thing we talk about a lot is this idea of a local advantage, which essentially means that Pender County has strength in particular economies. And when we look at the results here, we can get a sense of what those industries look like. And so this chart, I want to just point out two things about it. One is that most of the industries on here are clustered kind of towards the middle of the chart, which essentially means that most of the industries are growing at a relatively similar rate as they are in the state, which is good because it means like these sectors are growing at the same, in a similar way to the state economy, and you can align your economic development strategy to the state's economic development strategy. The second thing I want to point out, and this is a common theme in the research, is that food services and drinking places, they're way out to the right and way up on the chart, which means that they are doing a lot better in Pender County than they are in the state. There's a lot more employment growth happening in the county compared to the state, which again makes sense because of that strong tourism sector. The rest of the research methods, I'll just kind of highlight what we did, and for details, I would point you to the report. So for the asset map, we just created a map that shows the assets in Surf City, including economic development and business assistant assets, local schools, recreation activities, and other institutions. This can be used to show businesses that may want to locate in Surf City, what resources are here for them when they move. We interviewed about 7 or 8 residents of Surf City, including several business owners, to identify existing assets, identify needs, potential inhibitors, and potential opportunities. I would highly recommend digging into this section of the report too, because there's a lot of small recommendations that come out of this section that don't necessarily make it into the recommendation section that we'll talk about in a minute. And then we pulled on case studies from other towns, some from North Carolina, some from other states. I tried to pull as many that were kind of coastal towns as possible to try and get a similar dynamic. But the topics we looked at are ways that towns have diversified their economy, how they've established local partnerships, participated in intentional growth, focused on infrastructure maintenance, and leveraged environmental assets. And so the thing that I want to spend most of the time on is talking about recommendations. So our recommendations section falls into kind of 3 categories. The first being create a well-rounded approach to targeting industries, which that's related to the shift share analysis results. The second category is economic and workforce development. And then the third is kind of more holistic considerations of economic development. So if we look at creating a well-rounded approach to targeting industries, the first thing I want to say is be cautious to not solely target competitive industries. So if you've seen the report, you see that there are some industries that we categorize as competitive, which means that they are performing really well in the state, they're performing really well in the county, and so they're experiencing lots of growth right now. And it can be tempting to just go after those industries because they're doing so well. However, it's also worth noting that because they're doing so well right now, they may not need the type of assistance that other industries need to kind of get that kickstart. Another thing that came from the analysis, which is really good, and it reflects that chart we saw earlier, is that most of the industries are stable or better. So stable is kind of like a middle of the road category that we have for industries. And most industries are at least stable, which is good. It means that very few industries are just completely leaving the county, which is really good. One thing that was also notable is that manufacturing is largely absent from Pender County. And so this could be a potential leverage point to help diversify the economy, especially if you were to invest in clean manufacturing, as that's going to become more and more relevant over the next several decades. And then some of the industries that were competitive industries, according to the shift share analysis, were professional services, which includes like accounting, computer systems, management consulting, and a whole host of other things. It's essentially college educated individuals who can kind of do work themselves. They don't necessarily have to work for a company. They could do like consulting just like as a sole proprietor. And so there's some things that Surf City can do to foster growth in that sector by providing office space or co-working space, and just making it so that professional level individuals can kind of live and work in Surf City. Service-oriented industries have also been performing well in Pender County, including repair and maintenance, so for like vehicles, social assistance, like childcare and elder care, and then healthcare services in general. There's a little bit of nuance with targeting service-oriented industries because they are experiencing growth in the area. However, they do rely on people to live in Surf City to participate in these industries and to make sure that the companies have customers, essentially. So you might want to use caution when targeting some of these industries because you don't want to have too many services and not enough people to use them. But you should be aware that it is a strong industry, and it does kind of show that Surf City has goods in the area to serve people. And then lastly, I wanted to lift up agriculture and aquaculture. Agriculture does perform well, according to the shift share analysis, and is a promising industry to kind of target and look at how to create like some local food chains and really focus on locally grown food. Aquaculture, it's kind of hard to tell how it's performing because the data isn't quite there. However, it's been receiving a lot of attention from a state level, and economic developers. And so it could be a promising avenue for Surf City, especially because there's history there of a fishing town. So these are our economic development and workforce development recommendations. And there's more detail under all of these recommendations in the report. But the first is to focus on developing a workforce development pipeline. Through the interviews and the research we conducted, it became clear that it's sometimes hard to find people to step into jobs. It can be hard for people to find training opportunities, to acquire new skills, to then kind of acquire new jobs that maybe have a better wage. And so focusing on developing this pipeline is one way to really ensure you're investing in the people already in Surf City and creating a robust workforce. The second is to conduct surveys and focus groups to identify what people are leaving Surf City to find. And so the example I like of this is that one interviewee talked about how people used to leave Surf City to go get surf lessons. And they were like, why? Why are they leaving Surf City? And so they opened a surf lesson shop in Surf City. So now Surf City is kind of known as a place to go get surf lessons, and people can just get surf lessons in town, or people from other towns can come. And so this could be a strategy for figuring out, like, what else is there? What else are people going to other cities to find? And can we bring that here? And then the third is to develop a diverse array of programs to support small business growth. I say more about this in the report, but it's essentially using multiple tools and being flexible, because no one program is necessarily a silver bullet for any town. And then when we look at holistic considerations of economic development, the first I want to point out is conducting inclusive and community engagement. This was something we frankly struggled with in the research. We did our best to reach out to BIPOC individuals in the interviews, but had a really hard time identifying folks to participate in the interviews. And so it often takes more time to build these intentional relationships. And so I would encourage Surf City to prioritize that, and to also look at nearby communities that may not be within the town limits of Surf City, but could potentially be influenced or impacted by development pressures from Surf City. For example, the Edgecombe community is right nearby and is experiencing development pressure because of the activity happening in Surf City. The second is to prioritize a diverse housing stock. One thing that came through in both the data and the interviews is that people can't afford to both live and work in Surf City. This is both an issue of housing affordability and an issue of living wages. And so making sure that you're providing opportunities for people to be able to live and work in the same place is a great way to keep people in the area. And when you keep people in the area, you keep their tax dollars in the area. So there's an economic argument for it, but there's also a social one of making sure people can live and work close by. Next is just to promote other things like walkability, bikeability, and other similar aspects. I noticed, especially on the mainland, when I came and visited, there is some nice sidewalk networks. So there are like residential sites that you can easily walk to some of the commercial activity. That's really good, and that makes people want to live there because they don't necessarily need a car all the time to get places. And so I would encourage Surf City to continue that. And then finally, just ensuring that you're pushing internet access throughout Surf City for as many folks as possible. Internet access has become more and more important, especially during this time of quarantine that we're kind of coming out of now, but a lot of companies are still going to promote remote work. And so having internet access for all education levels will be beneficial. And that's all I have. I would welcome any questions y'all have. And just I've appreciated working on this project. It's been really great to learn about y'all's town.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Very informative. And have you got all this information?
Yes, sir. And I did want to mention Audrey Boyer, too, was instrumental in working with myself and the team to develop the draft and talking with Mr. Scott Franco a little bit. opportunity to work with an outside resource to kind of look at things on a more holistic approach. And, ultimately, I think some of the findings we kind of do, but the strategies in which we can start working on these certainly will be very helpful for us in the future. So, again, thank you, Austin.
It's in draft form.
It's in draft. It's in your folder. So take a look at it. It's not an adopted plan. It's just a study. Take a look at it. Provide feedback to me, and we'll work with Jess. Probably on getting anything updated. Austin, as had mentioned, he just graduated, so he's going to move on to gainful employment. But I told...
Hopefully, right?
I told Austin yesterday, we want to reach out to NC Growth, and sorry I couldn't call him NC Connect before, but NC Growth, and maybe they can be a resource to some of our other partners to help explain some of these things too. So.
I got one question for Austin. Austin, did you take in consideration the proximity of our location and us being a bedroom community for Wilmington, Camp Lejeune, and Jacksonville?
Yes, that did come up in some of what I found in the research. That's both like a potential opportunity for the remote work situation, because people could maybe work in Wilmington and or Jacksonville, but still live in Surf City, because with remote work, you no longer necessarily have to commute. You can stay at home, and then maybe once a week you go into the office. So that's an opportunity there. But it also, one thing that came up in the interviews is that people may have to go to Wilmington or Jacksonville to find work. And there is an opportunity there with remote work. And also, if they're commuting to Wilmington every day, like they may leave Surf City eventually, because that could be a long commute, and while they're commuting out, they're going and spending dollars in other communities. So if you commute to Wilmington for work and you get lunch in Wilmington gets those sales tax dollars, not Surf City. And so trying to find ways to help promote people staying within Surf City. And then the other thing that came up was like people going to some of these larger cities nearby for services, which was why that was one of the kind of recommendations, was to figure out like what services are people leaving the town for.
Industry here, and like I say, we've always been looking for clean industry to move in, but just figuring a way to get it, and it's expensive to bring them in to draw industry into your area. So
yeah, that looks at workforce development. Do we have a good workforce that can support that clean industry here locally or within our tighter region to make it more advantageous for a company to locate?
Well,
yeah,
the thing about it, go ahead.
I would just say that's why I've included those workforce development recommendations, because towns can often, some towns try to spend tax dollars to get companies to come, recruitment dollars. We see the state do this a lot. And the research honestly shows that businesses typically pick where they want to locate because of the assets already there, like the workforce. And so building on what's already in Surf City and what's great about Surf City can be a recruiting tool.
Right. And, I guess it's like which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Does the industry come in first and then the workforce come in behind it? But how do you get the workforce here if you don't have, jobs for them? I think it would be easy for industries to get people to move to this area to work, because it is a great place to live. So I think it would be, and sometimes that's the problem that industries have, is getting people to move to the area. But we have got a great place to live, so if we could just get some industries to come in and get them to bring labor into the area. But you know more about that than I do, so.
It's a tough challenge. And that's why I stress that there's partners. Community college is certainly going to be
Right.
a partner that we can share some of this, and they will then know kind of what the town may be looking for, and we can work with them to develop some of their strategies. And one of the recommendations in this is, the town may be able to provide a financial resource to a very specific thing to help bolster programming from a community college or whatever it might
Right.
be to help build the workforce. So it'll be a nice little tool, and certainly another challenge that we'll continue to work on.
Because you have Onslow County and New Hanover County spending a lot of money promoting this, but it's all going, like he said, on either side of us, and so that's where a lot of the money's going to. So, but we need.
It was encouraging to hear from his report that some of the things that the towns from our master plan, our bike paths and pedestrian trails and walking paths, and the infrastructure, a lot of things we've got in the process, and what his report does and tells us is that we need to prioritize these resources and prioritize our list of what we want to work on and do. I think it'll be a great addition to what we've already got to build on. But we've got a pretty good base set up. We just need to refine and define that base. And I think this is what that report will do, and I'm appreciative for it. Thank you for it.
Yeah, and what I'll look forward to doing is turning a lot of this stuff over to Ms. Hines to start developing specific policies within our comp plan and objectives and strategies for those policies to achieve over the next, whether that's 10 years or 20 years or 30. So again, just another good tool, and again, it was a good opportunity to work with them.
And I appreciate your presentation, Austin. Thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You want to talk about mosquitoes now?
Yes, sir. All over the board, but it's good. This is very consistent to the memorandum of understanding we entered into last year to provide vector control from the county's standpoint. We will still maintain our licensure to be able to apply vector if we need to, but this is the exact same appropriation, and I would just need a consensus from council to put this on the agenda.
I think really they did a good job last year.
Yeah. And we put together an online form that's on our website. So if people have complaints, or if they missed an area, or if they've got something going on, or we just have a proliferation to send to us, and I can get those over to the county, and they were good at addressing them.
Right. They did.
No
Did a good
complaints
job.
on mine.
So
We'll go forward with that.
you need just a motion.
Just a consensus, and we'll have a
Consensus.
consent.
To renew it. Okay. Do we have a consensus to renew that?
Yes.
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 All right. Go forth with it. All right. You ready, lady?
I'm always ready, Mayor.
Good answer.
Good.
Good morning, everybody. So for consensus agenda, or for consent agenda, at the June meeting, I wanted to talk about the comprehensive land use plan contract. In December, we went out and got 5 applicants for the land use plan. We went through, we graded them, we negotiated, we gave a contract to the attorney, he worked on it. We offered to Insight Planning, which was who was going to do our comp plan. And then 2 days after we signed the contract with them, we found out that their key staff member had left the organization. We had concerns with that, being that they had not replaced that key staff member, and who that was going to fall to. And obviously we want the best for this comp plan, because it's going to guide us for the next 20 years. So Kyle and I talked about this for a while. We decided to politely decline that contract and reach out to the Cape Fear Council of Governments. They were our second person in line. They were really close. Either way we went, we felt like at the time would have been good. At the time, the COG was a little bit concerned about their staffing capacity, and since that time, they have brought on another person, so they have increased their staffing capacity. They've also received the contract for Topsail Beach's land use plan, so I think this will tie nicely together. So I'm asking today that we put on consent agenda for next month and enter into contract with the COG to complete our land use plan and move forward.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And
I make a motion, we do that.
you just need a vote on it?
Consensus to put it on consent agenda for the
Next
June
month.
meeting. Yes, sir, please.
Okay, be on the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, and the COG has always done it before anyway.
Did you have a
I
question?
should have listened to you to start with.
Do what?
Another good answer.
Okay, all righty. Well, I guess the only thing left is the manager's recommended budget.
Business registration ordinance.
Do what?
There's a business registration and ordinance amendments there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's. This was. I will certainly take all the blame for this. Meant to have this on your agenda, so this was a late addition. The business registration program, and I had a memo prepared. I don't see it in your packet.
I think it's there because I read it.
Okay, I can pull it up on my end. It's not a big issue. So one thing that had been brought to my attention was the lack of the town's ability to know what's going on business-wise within our corporate limits. Prior to 2014, the town was able to utilize enabling statutes for a local privilege license tax, which applied to brick and mortar, applied to contractors, it applied to anybody that was doing business within the town. You were required to pay this tax to do that. Since then, there has not been enabling statutes to allow for any sort of registering of businesses, except for now under North Carolina General Statute 168-174, and there's a multitude of those enabling statutes. We can put forth a registration program that's tied to regulatory compliance. And within that is secondary benefits that not only the town can utilize, but also our businesses can utilize, as they would then have access to a repository of who's doing business, who else is a restaurant within town, who else is doing carpet cleaning within town, etc. So what we looked at was how could the framework be set up administratively. The town utilizes a fully online platform through Viewpoint, which we already utilize for our permitting, for land use documents, etc. So Ms. Kimes was able to speak with our vendor on that. They already have a portion that we can utilize for business registration. And what we would do is implement this program July 1 through June 30 each year, with a minimal fee associated with that. That fee would be recommended at $50, which we feel would cover the licensing portion of the program application, but there will be some additional administrative duties that fall onto code enforcement to follow up if somebody has not achieved their registration within a timely manner according to the ordinance. So, yeah, if you got questions.
Just a question.
Yeah.
And that's a one-time fee?
One-time annual, yes, sir.
Okay, that's an annual fee.
Yes, sir. So, as I provided in my memo, just this last year, we had an estimated 22 new businesses that came into Surf City, which is tremendous. It's positive, great news for us. But a lot of other businesses might not know who those people are, and we absolutely want to share this information with them. I also noted that it does put people on a level playing field. A lot of times, this town, every other town, county, any jurisdiction, you've got people that come in and set up business and might not even go get a zoning permit or fire marshal inspection if it's necessary, and start operating. And in order for us to deliver our basic protection of public health and general welfare, this just gives us another option to be able to do that. So there is a draft ordinance associated with this. If we did want to implement this July 1, we would need to have consensus to move forward and have an adoption at your June meeting for implementation July 1. In addition, at the business luncheon on May 10th, this was one of the topics that were discussed with the, I guess, probably 100 businesses that were there.
How was that received?
It was received well, I believe. Had a question from one business owner, just asked, in comparison, can we reduce fees on something else to make up for this? And that came in the form of a food truck fee. So that's something that we can consider. But over that, I had not gotten any direct complaints, in regards to the proposal that was on the table there. So
I make consensus that we'll move forward with this.
Can I ask one question?
yes, ma'am.
So on, just let's say there's a lot of people that do business in Surf City. They may not necessarily have an office. They may have, just a mobile office in their home or in their car. So those residents are also looking for, or just say a contractor, for example.
Yes.
They are also looking for some type of pass, like parking pass. Maybe not for all their employees, but just for their business. Mm-hmm. And if you were to, just a suggestion, if you were to take that to those ones that do not have a parking pass or not eligible for a parking pass, if you were just to increase it to $100 for, say, that contractor, that would give them their registration and their parking pass just for the business owner, not for all their contractors, just for them.
Yeah, they're with the business registration legislation. The whole reason why the state, I think that's a good idea. I'll start off by saying that, but the state with the local privilege license tax saw abuse with municipalities, and it only takes one bad apple, across the state for the General Assembly to say, we're going to cut that. So the enabling statutes for the business registration are tied towards regulatory compliance. However, having this as a tool, we can have a direct communication pipeline to those individuals to offer them additional services that the town may be able to provide. So I would shy away from the fee to go up to cover other things, because I don't want to commingle the enabling statute and what we're going to be able to use this for. But that's certainly a secondary and tertiary benefit to this program that we could use. So,
Question. Obviously, the $50 fee is, that's minuscule. I think it's, you need it for administration wise. 1028 and 1029. It says a $500 fee shall be imposed on any business that fails to register, and then 1029 says a late registration fee of $100 in addition to the registration fee after 31st day following the expiration of registration.
Mm-hmm. That's a late fee.
Yeah. So it'd be 50, but then if they, for some reason, forget to register in 31 days, they have to pay another 100. I don't know if we want to discuss.
Yeah, we can discuss any of that.
We need to leave that alone, because we had a business here, and I won't mention it, but built a dock and everything else that was definitely against code, and he got upset because we made him go back, because it wouldn't pass the inspector. He's gone to the state, and the state basically has told him the same thing we have. You've got to do certain things when you build a dock, and
I think let me say, only reason I'm. So let's look at the time factor here. Middle of summer, businesses are thumping it. They forget to register because this is the last thing on their mind. I think the $100 fee imposed after 31 days is a little harsh. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I don't disagree about a penalty. I don't disagree about a late fee.
Right.
I think you have to have those in place to make people do things. But I think that in the dead of summer, boy, it gets thumping around here. If Steve Pascantino or Daddy Max forgets because he's so busy, he should be penalized an extra $100. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, when are we looking to implement this?
July 1. It would be consistent with our fiscal year, is what the proposal would
And
be.
if we approved it in June's meeting, then it'll give them more than enough time, right?
30 days for our initial registration, and then another 30 days before a late fee would be imposed.
Right. So this initial is almost 60 days with ample warning.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Yeah. What are we doing to communicate with them, though? Is it a mail out to each business?
Andy's got, she's kind of in her department, so let her.
I can't actually execute my contract with Viewpoint until July 1 because it's in next year's funds. So we have spoken with them and they are doing a little bit of development up front. I can't do the full development until July 1, so the first year will not be on July 1 that we're even ready. It will be hopefully very soon following that, but it won't be immediate. So we will start an outreach campaign through Facebook, the website, whatever we can do to try to get the information out there. We will treat it from a code enforcement side like we are so many other things that we're starting to really enforce in the code. It's always been there, and we just haven't had the person to do it. Where we're not going to go out and like you owe us $100. We will have a campaign where Scott goes out and he goes to different businesses and says, "Hey, this program is coming. Here's the literature on it," or whatnot on those that wouldn't be signed up.
Yeah, so I would ask the board to consider although it can be written like 30 days with the $100, is to do like we did with parking. Since it's a new thing, we slowly implement it, and then we're very graceful as to giving initial fines.
Yeah, we can just
until
wait.
you educate. So administratively, can we just say 60 days for this time around?
Absolutely.
Although we know it's 30 going forward.
Yes, yeah, and what I'll do is through the resolution for adoption of the ordinance, through that resolution have specific for 2021 for a delay on that until.
Just because it's new.
Right.
And can they pay with a credit card?
Yes.
So can they set up automatic renewal?
I'm not sure what Viewpoint.
I don't think we can, but we will, if you fill out your information correct, we will have everybody's email address in there, and we can a month beforehand just send out a mass email to everybody that says, "Hey, heads up, your payment for this is due on July 1. After August 1st, you will incur a late fee if you don't register. Or if you no longer do business with us, please let us know so that we can change the system to inactive or something like
Will
that."
they get a certificate again also like they did before?
It'll be a general, we'd want it like a printable form because the ordinance requests that they keep that on their person or in their business.
Yeah, it's and this is going to be just like everything else, parking and everything else. It's going to take about a year or so to work all the bugs out of it. So, and we're going to be lenient on them during that time, right, Amy? Okay.
I think implementing in July is a good time because as far as like a lot of businesses and licenses come due July 1st. So I know I had to do my real estate license, my firm license, my privilege license, all that to run a business is due by June 30th. So I think that falls in line with other people on the same calendar.
That's when your license are due.
Yeah. And on, they give us the option of like printing out a digital pocket card that, we print off and we laminate and keep in our pocket for a year instead of us having to send it out ourselves, individual card.
Yeah, I would think through the Viewpoint, and please, if I get ahead of myself, Amy, reel me back in, but they would be able to have that printable option of a form, essentially.
The way that Viewpoint is set up right now, as soon as you get, all the reviews are done prior to payment. So as soon as you get payment, right now your permit immediately becomes available for you to print out, and then we could look at possibly having 2 printouts if you wanted like a pocket card or if you wanted the big one or whatnot. And then Viewpoint is also searchable by the public. So if I wanted to know who does tile work in Surf City or who's registered to do tile work in Surf City, I could search for that possibly through Viewpoint. So it would be a good source for at least on the contract side for people to search. And then with this program, it also will now autofill everything. If you use somebody who's registered, it then autofills all of their information, license number, and all of that into your permit by you just typing Teresa Batchel Station.
And I'll be fair with you, this is gonna make it, because when we had that luncheon, it took forever just running around trying to find all the businesses that was in Surf City, because you had no list of businesses in Surf City.
It makes it a problem for the fire inspector.
Well, I'm
he
sure
drives
it
by
does,
the building.
yeah. So,
There's a business and he knows nothing about the business, because it's like the mayor said, we don't have a list.
No, and like I say, that we didn't deal with any contractors or subcontractors. There is no telling how many businesses there is working in Surf City.
So from the contractor and subcontractor side on building permits and all of that, we will not only require their state license number, we will now require their town of Surf City license number.
Right.
In there, so that hopefully we can catch all of these other people that are coming in, at least on that side of things.
Right.
We're
So
not
they
gonna
won't be able to come
catch
in
the
and
pressure
do work
washers and
without.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, that'll help us if we haven't, hope that we don't, but have a hurricane, because you know the problem we had before.
Oh, I know.
We had scammers galore come in, and that's a way of keeping them out.
And to that, if we have this list, just kind of going back to that, we immediately have hurricane reentry for the contractors. Reach out to them, hey, please come get this, so that they're not here the last minute. And our reentry policy is going to cut people off 48 hours prior to the event. So just another benefit to it. So.
Well, this is something we talked about since the state cut out our stuff, and we're asking to look at it and come up with some kind of orders to do that and add some other things to it, which he's done. I think it's great. It'll serve our purpose, so we can certainly add to it in years to come. It gives us a handle on knowing who and what, when and where.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see it move forward and bringing it in like we did with parking and all. As Dwight said, I think that's a great idea too. It'll help them, businesses, it'll help the town, it'll also give them an opportunity to meet the deadline.
Okay. What else you got?
The only other item is just I put it on the agenda just in case there's any questions or discussion on the budget. If not, we are prepared to move forward June 1 for ordinance adoption and moving into the new fiscal year for July 1. So,
Any questions on the budget?
Looks good to me.
No, although it's a small amount with this new permitting thing, is that taken into account?
yeah, it'll be in the fee schedule
Okay.
For that, and then we'll have expenditures that were built into
Right, and we had to buy that
community
system.
development for the actual little module.
Right.
That we tried to base that. We really did try to base that fee on what would cover that cost. So.
All right. Well, thanks.
Teresa, you got anything?
No, sir, I'm good.
John?
No, sir.
Jeremy?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I'm good.
No? Okay.
We're going to reconvene at 1 o'clock, right? At the new town hall.
I don't think we're going to reconvene.
You don't. We don't need to reconvene, but
we're going to meet at town hall.
Yeah, we're
yes,
gonna,
sir.
we're going to meet over there for the
I'd say come a little early, just so that we can all be prepared.
Right.
I think the mayor is going to do the introduction.
About 12:30.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the project a little bit. We're going to ask the architect and engineer to talk about a little bit about the vision of the design, and then Monteith will talk a little bit, and then at the end some closing remarks. Town hall is looking fantastic. I think the last week, everybody has been doing a little bit of something, whether that's cleaning windows or vacuuming or taking cardboard out to the dumpster, hanging TVs. It's been a true group effort, not just what somebody's job title is. So it's been good the last week. It looks really good. So I'm excited for it, and hope everybody will enjoy that.
Good job.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second that motion.
Second. All in favor, raise your hand. Now we can go.